Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through research and notes to pull out the really potent insights. Today, we're plunging into something that feels, well, incredibly familiar, yet holds some surprising depths: the true nature of community and love. You might think you know where real connection comes from, or, how to define a truly loving relationship. But our sources today, they're here to challenge some very conventional beliefs, like the idea that true love only really lives in romance, or that family is always where you find your deepest support. Get ready, because this exploration might just reshape how you see your own bonds, family, friends, partners, everything.
That's exactly it. That's our mission in this deep dive, to really challenge those common assumptions, especially that often romanticized idea of the nuclear family being the only place for connection. What we'll uncover is the huge significance of other forms of community, forms we often overlook. This deep dive shows how genuine community isn't just about survival, it's the very place where we learn the art of loving. And this understanding of love, consciously growing care, respect, knowledge, responsibility, it touches every single part of our lives.
Okay, let's get into that, because the material really pushes back on the whole rugged individualist idea, doesn't it? It suggests true support doesn't come from just going it alone. And what the sources show next is really interesting. Friendships might actually be way more foundational to how we understand love than many of us think. But maybe the most surprising thing, and it might seem counterintuitive at first, is that knowing how to be alone, how to actually cultivate solitude, that's a crucial step towards real connection with others. So what does this all mean for us? And for you, as you navigate your own relationships, your own communities? Well, right away, our sources challenge the standard story about where life is sustained. They argue it's communities, in the broad sense, not just nuclear families or couples, that truly sustain life, which really contradicts a lot of what society tells us.
Exactly. When we talk about family values, society so often holds up the nuclear family, mother, father, kids as the ideal, almost sacred. But the material calls this largely a fantasy image. In reality, very few people actually live in that kind of isolated unit. Even people raised in nuclear families often experience it as just one small part of a bigger extended kin network. And historically, forces like capitalism and patriarchy actively work to break down those larger, more communal family structures. They replace them with smaller, more sort of autocratic ones. This privatized setup, it actually fostered alienation and made abuses of power much easier, creating environments that could be pretty unhealthy.
Yeah, and it's not just theory. The failures of the patriarchal nuclear family, they're well documented, often exposed as places of emotional chaos, neglect, even abuse, yet society keeps insisting it's the best place for kids.
Right. The persistence is striking.
But what the sources highlight is that even in, say, dysfunctional extended families, their diversity, often including non-blood kin, meant there was a better chance of finding sane, loving people around. It points to thinkers like Alice Miller talking about enlightened witnesses.
Yeah.
Those people offering kindness, concern that help us survive and thrive despite childhood pain, precisely because families existed within larger communities.
Which raises a really powerful question for us, doesn't it? If our family of origin is our first community, but we don't always experience love there, where do we turn? The sources point very compellingly towards friendship. Since we choose our friends, many of us, from childhood right into adulthood, find the care, the respect, the knowledge, the nurturing that might have been missing in our families. There's this fascinating reflection from Susan Miller in her memoir, where she describes love as what made you feel good, comforted you, freed you up inside, made you laugh. And she found that feeling, that deep connection with her best friend.
That's such a critical distinction, and it really pushes back against the social norm that friendship should always be secondary, right?
Right.
Secondary to family, secondary to romance.
Always playing second fiddle.
We're often taught, if you don't find love in your family, you'll find it in a committed romantic partner. But this deep dive suggests friendship is often our first real glimpse of redemptive love, of truly caring community. It's in learning to love and be loved in friendships that we actually get empowered to bring that same quality of love elsewhere.
Exactly, elsewhere, yeah. To family, to romantic bonds. Precisely. We tend to take friendships for granted, don't we? Often putting them second to romance. And this devaluation can create an emptiness, maybe one we don't even recognize when we're just focused on a partner. The sources warn that committed romantic relationships are much more likely to become codependent if we cut off ties with friends.
That makes sense.
What we learn through experience, and what the material really hammers home, is that our ability to build deep, profound connections in friendship actually strengthens all our intimate bonds. Trust is the absolute heartbeat of genuine love. And genuine love means not feeling diminished or threatened when our partners give time to friends or when we give time to ours.
So if that holds true, it means the very foundation of all love in our lives is essentially the same thing. There isn't some special love just reserved for romantic partners.
No exclusive category.
The sources define genuine love as the will to nurture spiritual growth, your own or someone else's. And it's revealed through acts of care, respect, knowing, and taking responsibility. So whether it's with ourselves, family, friends, or partners, the values guiding our behavior, if they're rooted in what the sources call a love ethic,
A love ethic.
a commitment to acting from love, those values are always the same.
This brings up an important point about how we're socialized, though. Many of us, especially maybe older generations, were taught that marriage or committed romance should take precedence over everything else, all other relationships. And this conventional belief, it can lead to some really destructive patterns. There's this powerful example in the material, an anecdote about a long-term relationship where one person tolerated verbal, even physical abuse, stuff they would never have accepted in a friendship.
Wow.
This ignorance about the true art of loving just put the relationship at risk right from the beginning.
It just makes you rethink everything, doesn't it? That if we simply brought the same high standards, respect, care, knowledge, responsibility that we usually bring to our friendships, if we brought those into our romantic relationships, we'd never accept being victimized like that.
Never.
The healthy, loving response to cruelty and abuse is putting ourselves out of harm's way, not enduring it as some kind of, misguided sign of commitment.
Exactly. And this is where the practical application of love within community becomes so vital. Within a loving community, we keep those ties strong by being compassionate, by being forgiving. Thinkers like Eric Butterworth assert that there is no other way to the return of healing, comforting, harmonizing love than through total and complete forgiveness.
Total and complete. That's a high bar.
It is. Forgiveness is presented as an act of generosity. It requires us to place releasing someone from their guilt above our own feelings of outrage. It's a gesture of respect, really, demanding we try to understand the other person's negative actions. Now, while it's essential for spiritual growth, it doesn't magically make everything okay instantly. But, as Robin Kazarjian explains, it transforms us from being helpless victims of our circumstances to being powerful and loving co-creators of our reality.
That's a profound shift in perspective. From victim to co-creator. Wow. But it's not just about how we relate to others, is it? The deep dive stresses that knowing how to be solitary, how to be alone, is also central to the art of loving.
Absolutely central.
So many of us seek community just to escape the fear of being alone. But when we can truly be alone, we can then be with others without using them as an escape route.
Which allows for much deeper connection.
Exactly.
Theologian Henri Nouwen really emphasized the value of solitude. He encouraged us to see it not just as privacy, but as a place to truly look at ourselves, to shed the false self. He argues that no relationship can fully satisfy our deepest cravings for wholeness. Instead, we find peace by converting loneliness into what he called fruitful solitude.
Fruitful solitude. I like that phrase.
Yeah. As he says, loneliness is painful. Solitude is peaceful. Loneliness makes us cling to others in desperation. Solitude allows us to respect others in their uniqueness and create community.
And from that solid place of solitude, then we can move into fellowship and service. The sources highlight service as another crucial dimension of communal love. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross noted that the greatest rewards in your whole life will come from opening your heart to those in need.
Beautifully put.
It's about giving freely, isn't it? Not because you have to, not out of obligation or some biological destiny, but from a conscious choice to serve others in the community.
And that willingness to sacrifice, that's a necessary part of loving practice and living in community. It just is.
Yeah.
None of us can have things our way all the time. That's just reality. Giving up something for the collective well-being powerfully shows our awareness of interdependency. As Martin Luther King Jr. preached, all men and women are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny.
Such powerful words.
Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. This bridging of gulfs happens through mutual giving, whether that's consciously tithing time or resources, or simply through, daily acts of kindness.
And what's truly powerful here is how accessible community making actually is. Unlike maybe other social change movements that need formal organizations or big plans.
Right, big structure.
The sources remind us we can begin the process of making community right where we are, right now. It can start with something as simple as sharing a smile, a warm greeting, a little bit of conversation.
Small gestures.
Or doing a kind deed, daily acts, big and small. The material even shares these poignant examples of healing family wounds, like navigating a sister's estrangement over homophobia, which ultimately strengthens the family as a community. The insights we've uncovered in this deep dive, they really resonate, don't they? This idea that the principles of love are universal, that they apply across all meaningful relationships, not just romance. That's transformative.
It's really
It just reorients our whole understanding of community, shows its unexpected depth, from how it first shows up in our lives to the often underestimated power of chosen family through friendship.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now, practically speaking?
Mm.
Well, fostering genuine community, whether it's in families, friendships, even with strangers, it takes intentionality. You have to choose it. This involves honest communication, compassion, forgiveness. Remembering that forgiveness doesn't wipe the slate clean instantly, but it transforms us from victims to co-creators of our reality.
That co-creator idea again, so important.
It also demands a willingness to sacrifice sometimes for the group's well-being, reflecting that awareness of our interdependency that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke
Yeah.
of, that inescapable network of mutuality. And crucially, holding on to the true definition of love, the will to nurture spiritual growth through care, respect, knowing, responsibility, that provides a foundation where tolerating abuse is never a sign of commitment, ever.
And remember, creating this vibrant community doesn't need formal organizations or grand gestures. Not at all. It really can begin with those simple daily acts. A smile to a stranger passing by, a warm hello to a neighbor, a small, kind deed for someone who looks like they need it.
The everyday stuff.
It can even be about the hard work of healing wounds within your own family, which, as the sources remind us, strengthens community in really profound, sometimes unexpected ways.
Okay, so here's a final thought, maybe a provocative one for you to consider. If our capacity to build deep, profound connections in friendship really does strengthen all our intimate bonds, and if knowing how to be solitary, truly solitary, is central to the art of loving, converting that loneliness into fruitful solitude, like Henri Nouwen suggested, then what would fundamentally change in your most cherished relationships, including your romantic ones? What would change if you consistently applied the same high standards of respect, care, knowledge, and responsibility that you bring to your truest friendships? And if you intentionally embrace those moments of stillness and aloneness, what would shift?
It's a powerful question because the love cultivated within community truly stays with us wherever we go, guiding us, hopefully, to return to love in every interaction.